Hey everybody, T-Man again, bringing you guys another video, and this one is finally here that I've been teasing about on Twitter the last couple days, and I'm finally barely getting around to doing it right now, is my top 5 favorite WrestleManias of all time, going from 1 all the way to 30, what is the top 5 best, and after this I will be shooting another video of what I think is the top 5 worst WrestleManias, and I have put them in order in somewhat of a countdown. Quick updates here on this channel. I will be shooting out probably tomorrow or Friday. It might be good to do it Friday. Last week I did it on a Wednesday. Next week, this week I'm going to do it on a Friday, and that is my Let's Talk Wrestling number 2, when I just talk everything under the sun, every rumor, everything I heard on the internet, current events going on in wrestling, from all promotions, Lucha Underground, TNA, WWE, NXT, so on and so on. I will discuss whatever is on my mind there. This week I'm not doing a Monday Night Raw review. I think I said that on Twitter, and the more I think about it, I did it. You know, we're in WrestleMania season, and I'm going to talk about this a lot in my Let's Talk Wrestling episode number 2. It'll be launching sometime this week. Before Saturday, I'll promise you that one. But, you know, we're in WrestleMania season, and to me, this is just one of the most lackluster build-ups to a WrestleMania that I could remember. I mean, every WrestleMania, especially in the last 5-6 years, they always depend on part-time guys and legends to really sell WrestleMania. And if you think about it this year, it's especially the case. If it wasn't for Brock Lesnar, Sting, and Undertaker, even though I don't agree with all those storylines that they're doing with those three, this WrestleMania will be a complete failure, and I don't think it needs to be. They have a lot of top guys. They have a lot of young guys that could carry this WrestleMania due to their performance, how great in-ring workers they are. Guys like Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt. Those are some phenomenal in-ring workers, but you know, for somewhat reason, Vince McMahon doesn't think they could do it themselves. I mean, putting them in the ring with legends are okay, but this year's wrestling, and I'll talk more in depth about what I mean on my Let's Talk Wrestling, you know, but this is just a horrible build-up there. This is the first WrestleMania I can remember that I'm not pumped up for at all, guys. I'm like, oof. Whatever, and I'll talk about how we can make that better, WrestleMania or whatever. But I'm really burnt out of the current product. So let's talk something really fun here, shall we? Let's give my 5 countdown. This is the first time I'm doing a countdown on what I think are the 5 best WrestleManias of all time. Okay, here we go. Number 5, what I think is a great WrestleMania, and it's number 5 on my countdown, is WrestleMania 25, the silver anniversary of WrestleMania, and I'll give you the reasons why I think this was a great WrestleMania. I mean, obviously, the kind of the match of WrestleMania, which you could call it, is the top 5 matches of WrestleMania. No doubt would fall in my top 2 or top 3, maybe even top 1, up there with Ricky Steamboat and Macho Man Savage. That is Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 25. That was the match that no doubt stole the show, and no matter what they did, nobody could ever follow what they did there at WrestleMania 25. It was absolutely amazing. Stole the show right there. It really did. And then the storyline. It wasn't a great match. It was the main event, but it was the storyline that got me in this WrestleMania. And I was real skeptical when I heard leading up to WrestleMania 25 what the match was going to be. And the match I'm referring to is Triple H, Randy Orton. Because it's been done many times. That rivalry was so overplayed with Evolution and all that. I'm like, wow, they're doing it again. You know, I'm like, I could understand, but and no doubt about it, the match wasn't even compared to anything. I mean, those two guys, they busted their ass, but no matter what they did, couldn't surpass what Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. But it was the storyline. If you guys remember the storyline leading into that, I mean, Triple H was the champion, and Randy Orton was when he was on his mean streak. He punted Vince McMahon in the head. It was like Orton against the whole McMahon family. And then he handcuffed Triple H a hand to the ring and kissed Stephanie while Stephanie was knocked out. It was just, you know, you get them once in a while where it goes beyond wrestling and they create a storyline that becomes personal. That's what that WrestleMania was. WrestleMania 25 with Orton and Triple H, it became a personal rivalry. And I just remember thinking the whole thing was cool. And honestly, I mean, here was the problem with having, if you remember at the time, they had two titles. They had the heavyweight title and the WWE Championship. I can't even really remember. And that's the thing. I could tell you every single main event of every single WrestleMania. But once when you start going to like 24 on, to remember that there's two championship matches, some of those World Heavyweight title matches were really forgettable. I remember, I think that 25 one might have been a triple threat with John Cena. I really can't remember. But I got a text message here. Sorry, guys. Let me see. We should get this. Put it on our card. Oh, new couch. No, we're not going to put it on our card. Anyways, sorry, that was the wife wanting a new sofa. But anyways, WrestleMania 25 is number 5 on the countdown. Number 4. And this one is a real sentimental one for me. I mean, this is really why it's on the countdown. And that is WrestleMania number 5. And I'll tell you the reason why. Is because when I was a kid, I was young when it actually came out, but there's at this video store where my parents and my aunt used to rent videos for us, for myself, my sister, and my cousin. Whenever anybody didn't know what to rent me, they always rented me WrestleMania 5, so I watched that one the most, and that, I guess for me it was on there because even today, you know, all these years later, if I didn't know what to watch, I could always watch WrestleMania 5, like especially on the network and stuff. So I mean, that was a real sentimental WrestleMania for me, and it just, you know, just makes me remember, you know, my childhood because I watched that WrestleMania a lot. And not to mention, it was great. I remember I have VHS tapes of the Saturday night main events leading into that WrestleMania, from the VCR and different wrestling shows, and the Hogan Macho Man, I bought that storyline, the love triangle type of thing, the story they kind of told, Macho Man being jealous, you know, Hogan's after Elizabeth. I mean, it was such a big deal in 1989. It was such a big storyline, and everybody knows that Hogan was the guy. Macho Man's living in Hulk Hogan's shadow, it seemed like, but Savage had the title for a year, but every single big event Macho Man Randy Savage shared it with Hulk Hogan. He, like the Survivor Series, obviously everything's tag team back then in Survivor Series. SummerSlam, you know, the Survivor Series, those events, it was tag team matches with Hogan. You know, it's like that whole year from when, even when Macho Man won the title at WrestleMania 4, Hogan was there to help him. So that pretty much that whole title reign, it seemed like Macho Man was living in Hogan's shadow. Macho Man got furious with it. You had Elizabeth in it. It was much watched television. And then you had the whole storyline with Ravishing Rick Rude and Ultimate Warrior. Very exciting. Demolition on the card. A lot of old people that I just love. Mr. Perfect taking on Blue Blazer, which is Owen Hart. Just a lot of fun matches on there. Hart Foundation, I believe, was on the card. Just a whole lot of fun matches. You could sit back and just really enjoy wrestling back then, and it was all topped off with a great storyline, like I said, with Hogan and Macho Man, that really brought it. And you know, a lot of people criticize Hogan's in-ring work, and I mean, it was what it was at the time. I mean, you're not going to hear me say that he's the greatest in-ring worker of all time. Even he won't say it. He's real honest. Even he'll say Ric Flair is one of the greatest of, it was a better in-ring worker than him. I mean, Hogan was more of a character, but Hogan and Macho Man, I mean, because Macho Man was a great in-ring worker, so he really brought that match out, and Hogan brought the excitement out. Great WrestleMania. Moving on from there, and these three, my last 3 WrestleManias, you guys are gonna laugh because they were all in the same time period. Okay, number 3, WrestleMania 18, and here's why. And like I said, these are my personal opinion. First of all, I love the hardcore titles segment. That was the one where the hardcore title was on the line. the whole pay-per-view. In between matches, the hardcore title was being passed around like a hot potato. It seemed like at Will was very, very entertaining. And of course, Hulk Hogan and The Rock, which was the real main event of that thing, which everybody just loved. That was a great match as well. I believe Kurt Angle wrestled Kane, had a great match. People want to talk about Mr. WrestleMania. I think Mr. WrestleMania could easily be a Kurt Angle. I mean, not necessarily that match he had with Kane, just in general, with Shawn Michaels at 21 and Lesnar at 19 and all these other great matches. And then WrestleMania 18 was headlined, of course, by Triple H and Chris Jericho. Great match by Triple H and Chris Jericho. Of course, Jericho was coming off being... but what really sold that pay-per-view, because Jericho was the first ever Undisputed Champion. They through the whole fake divorce thing between Stephanie and Triple H, because they weren't really legally married at the time yet. They were dating, though, but they weren't together. Had Triple H coming back from, I mean, that was probably one of the big reasons why he was in that position, because he was coming back from the quad, and he came back as a baby face and all that. So it was a very, again, great time in wrestling, cool time in wrestling, and it was a great, memorable WrestleMania for me. Like I said, these are my opinions. Moving on from that is a year later. That's right. My second favorite one was WrestleMania 19. This was a awesome WrestleMania. Absolutely awesome. Headlined by Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar all together. This was just a WrestleMania you could sit down and be entertained, and that 3 to 4 hours will go by really fast. Kurt Angle, arguably, like I said, be a guy that I would call Mr. WrestleMania, tearing down the house with Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar, duty, if you guys never seen this, go and watch this match, and you're going to see Brock Lesnar doing a shooting star press, a flip from on top of the rope, and he gave himself a concussion. You could tell at the end of the match that he wasn't really out. Like, he even went back and said he didn't remember anything after that. He knocked himself out in that match, continued the match, did the F5, and beat Kurt Angle. Very great match. But I mean, that wasn't all. Then you had a big thing, a big storyline with Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon. Hogan and Vince McMahon. Oh my goodness gracious. Of course, I mean, in ring work, I mean, you're not going to, but the storyline, those are the two guys that built WrestleMania, and it was real fitting to have the two guys that pretty much built WrestleMania. Hogan main eventing the first 9 WrestleManias, and McMahon, who invented WrestleMania, going at it. The story that they told, and they have a very nice video package leading up to the match. Very entertaining. Move on from there. You had Triple H versus Booker T for the heavyweight title, which was a really interesting. It was kind of funny, the storyline they led up to that. Like, Booker T was a criminal, and Triple H and Flair was saying he doesn't deserve to have the title, and this and that. That was really funny. And of course, I mean, it moves on and on. Like, you could just continue to go on with all the high-profile matches they had at 19. Also, they had the last match of Stone Cold Steve Austin against The Rock. The trilogy WrestleMania match against The Rock. That was just a great story that they told. The Rock finally getting a victory over Steve Austin. And Steve Austin, no one knew it at the time, but that was Steve Austin's last match at WrestleMania. After the match, The Rock sits down in the ring. You could notice after the 1, 2, 3, The Rock sits down next to Austin, talked in his ear, said thank you for everything, told Austin he loved him, thank you for everything he done for him in his career, and gave him a moment right there. It was really touching, really great. And a lot of people forgot about the match that stole the card that year. Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. Two fabulous in-ring workers stealing the show. So WrestleMania 19 will go down as number 2. And number 1, drum roll please, that's probably no surprise to anybody. 1, 2, it is WrestleMania 17. Probably the one WrestleMania you will never skip a match on that card. It was exciting. You had the TLC match. You had just a lot of great matches. I think Was it Booker T and Edge? Oh, no. That was 18. But you had the Gimmick Battle Royal. You had, of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock Part 2, which was the greatest WrestleMania of all time, in my opinions. No ends, ands, buts about it. Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle probably stealing the show that year at WrestleMania. Probably the best done WrestleMania, period. And if I'm leaving a lot of things out about that WrestleMania, please forgive me, but go on there and watch that WrestleMania. You won't skip anything. Even the Intercontinental title match was great. Many of you guys may roll your eyes, but it was. Go in there and watch the in-ring work between Chris Jericho and William Regal. Great match. The whole WrestleMania was absolutely wonderful. And 17, was that, let me see, or was that 18? I got 17 and 18 confused. Who did Undertaker face that year at WrestleMania? Was it Ric Flair at 17? What was this? No, it wasn't Flair. Undertaker faced Triple H at 17. I'm sorry. 18, Undertaker faced Ric Flair. Sorry about that. My mind went a little chunk. No, 17, Undertaker and Triple H fought for the first time. And that was a great match. Everything about WrestleMania 17 is just great. I mean, it was kind of the last rule of the Attitude Era, and man, it delivered, man. Austin and The Rock, and I loved the video with Limp Bizkit. I'm gonna do it my way, you know, just the lead up. Even though after WrestleMania, even to this day, they wore it out so much, even though I might even get irritated all these years later, what, like 13, 14 years later, Here in My Way, I still think of WrestleMania 17 and how many times they played it. Anyways, guys, this will conclude my top 5 best WrestleManias of all time. Hopefully you guys agree with them, and if you guys have a different top 5 WrestleManias, feel free to leave your comments below of what are you guys' favorite WrestleManias of all time in order. Curious to hear what everyone else thinks. Everybody has a different period depending on what decade, what generation they like the most. So there's my generations right there. You guys could pretty much tell it was Attitude Era, but I also loved the early years of wrestling as well. Okay, so until the next video, I will see you for my next 2 videos, which is going to be the 5 worst WrestleManias of all time, and Let's Talk Wrestling number 2 that will hit sometime before Saturday, maybe Friday night or Thursday, depending. So until the next video, take care, guys.